Now, I've been a fan of this amazing series known as One Piece for a very long time. You guys who've been following the channel for years know that. But someone who surprisingly became one of my favorite characters as I went along the series is a character who's been dead this entire time. The first ever page, the first ever chapter, and the first ever page in the One Piece manga was Gol D Roger talking about how he achieved everything: fame, wealth, power. But I truly believe his greatest achievement was actually when he died, because that was the start of the Great Pirate Era. And we look at the Great Pirate Era, we have the Yonko in Whitebeard, Kaido and Big Mom. Whitebeard and Big Mom, of course, being rivals to Roger. Kaido and Shanks, of course, Kaido was an apprentice to Roger's biggest rival, Rox D. Zebek. Shanks was an apprentice to Roger. Like, the Yonko are super connected to Gol D Roger, the Pirate King. And then, of course, we have also the characters known as the Warlords who were witnessing Roger's execution: Crocodile, Moria, Doflamingo, Mihawk. Of course, his other apprentice Buggy was there. Like, just seeing all these characters, and of course, can't forget about Monkey D. Dragon, the world's most wanted man. You can't forget the leader of the revolutionaries and who's about to take action right now. And even the worst generation, led by Monkey D. Luffy, the man who will become Pirate King. Of course, there's also Marshall D. Teach, Blackbeard. And of course, Trafalgar D. Waterlaw and Eustace Kid, who just took out a Yonko. The worst generation too were also inspired by Roger. So I truly believe his flowers are needed. Of course, in chapter 154, we see his real name for the first time, not being Gol Roger, but actually Gol D Roger. And Dr. Correa says the will of D lives on. A very chilling moment when you're at 1,000 chapters in a series and you go 1,000 chapters ago and see, of course, talking about the will of D and Roger, and we know that's very, very spooky. But I do want to say this: you have to understand, chapter 550, we found out some important things about Roger. His lover was a fellow Will of D member in Portgas D Rouge, who gave her life to give birth to the son of the Pirate King, Gol D Ace, or Portgas D Ace, who took his mom's name and of course became the son of Whitebeard and became a 2nd Division commander. Let's be honest here, there's also his marine rival and the grandfather of Luffy, Garp, fellow Will D member, took care of Ace because of Roger. And of course, chapter 506, we see the vice captain, the Dark King Silvers Rayleigh, who recently has been taking action against Blackbeard to save Boa Hancock, explaining the truth of his captain to the Straw Hats in this chapter, revealing Roger's final words as "I'm not gonna die." And Usopp, hearing all these things, is like, yo, did Roger plan everything? Which really made me think, guys. I won't lie to you, whenever Usopp speaks, people laugh, but I think Usopp's words are very heavy, and Rayleigh's like, I don't know about that when it comes to that situation, but he didn't deny it outright. But he did say that Roger is dead to kind of stop Usopp's speculation. So definitely want to say that the people who live on, of course, carry the new era and of course inherit the wills. But I truly believe, as you see from the title, a new enemy enter the Pirate King. I think Roger still has a big part in the story, because many people are like, Rox D Zebek, rocks. Well, I truly believe, yes, I'm in the Rocks hype. Of course, the lurking legend Rocks, I'm hype about that. But I truly believe Roger still plays a big factor in the final saga and the One Piece story. So I also want to go look back at, of course, in Marine Ford. Gol D Roger tells Whitebeard what the Will of D means, and after he actually mentioned the Will of D, because he did mention, yo, do you want to know where Laptail is? And Whitebeard's like, no, I have no interest in that. But then he's like, of course, talking about his name and how he's actually Gol D Roger. Whitebeard's like, oh, I have a guy like that on my crew, Marshall D. Teague. What does that initial mean? And Roger tells Whitebeard. Of course, later in that chapter, the next page is not the flashback, but the current Whitebeard who's on his death's door and says, it's not you, Blackbeard. Roger is waiting for a man to carry the burden, of course, and achieve some great things and inherit, of course, the will. And then, of course, the meme that came to life recently in the last year, One Piece is real. Then there's chapter 588, his other rival, not the pirate rival, the marine rival, the hero of the Marines, the man he teamed up with against Rocksteady Zebek. Monkey D. Garp gave me chills when Dadan, of course, hears why Ace didn't run away, and it was because Luffy was behind him. And of course, Dadan remembers Garp saying Roger never ran away, and that's a really important part of battle, running away, like tactical retreat. Roger never did that. He looked like he had a death wish because he couldn't cause the crew behind him. He never wanted them to get harmed, so he can never run away, because if he fled and they fled, it's really bad for his crew. So he had to stand so his crew can be protected, and that was just amazing, and that's why his crew trust him. Also, Garp also says he became a true demon in these moments, taking out a whole military if they even trash talked his crew. But every action that Roger did was simple, like an honest child. So I definitely want to say, every action he took was simple and honest, like a child. And Garp kind of says that just how Ace lost Sabo, it looks like Roger has lost some loved ones, and that's why he behaves the way he behaves, and like his son Ace. And I can't even lie to you guys, when Garp said even I can't hate Roger, and he's opposing Roger, like he's the opposition of Roger. We see him in chapter 0 chasing after Roger. I gotta give respect to respect is due. Garp is showing respect, and by him showing respect to the Pirate King, I show respect to Garp. Of course, 2 chapters later, in chapter 590, we even see the apprentice of the Pirate King's crew, Red Hair Shanks, not the other Yonko and Buggy. The Yonko Red Hair Shanks talks about Ace, and pretty much just in shock that Ace did the exact same thing Roger did. Running away is not an answer. They did not run away from the smoke, and says he wished so many times that Roger ran, or pretty much cried, or showed some sort of emotion in those situations, and says, Luffy, don't be afraid to cry. It makes me only want to see more of Roger's flashback and what made Roger the man he was. Like, what made Roger, what formed him, what made him, like, honestly, I want to see Roger before he actually became a pirate. Yeah, you might call me greedy because I got a really good flashback with Kozuki, Oden, and Roger, but I don't care. Call me greedy. The final saga, I want to see Roger from start to finish. Give me an ASL like flashback for Roger. Give me, of course, a whole story of Roger like Luffy, because this guy is goated. Reminds me of moments like Enies Lobby, where we see Luffy doing everything for Nico Robin and Say You Wanna Live, or of course Thriller Bark, when the crew is noticing Luffy is going out of his way and harming himself, of course his lifespan going down just to take out these enemies, and they feel kind of bad, like their captain is pretty much lifting a heavy burden. Of course, there's also Saba Odi Archipelago, you know, that arc where pretty much a Celestial Dragon gets punched in the face by Luffy because Hachi was getting trash talked and of course shot, and Luffy couldn't stand for that. His Nakama, of course, losing his crew in that same arc broke him, and of course later on losing his brother, his big brother Ace, also broke him because he already lost his brother Sabo earlier in the ASL flashback. But of course we all know that Sabo comes back in Dressrosa. Then of course in Whole Cake Island we see Sanji and what he did for Sanji, starving, and of course taking the brutal attack he did from Sanji. All I can say is this: I can go on and on about legendary moments of Luffy, and I can't wait to see more things he does. But at the end of the day, let's be honest here, all this is making me think is, how many moments has Roger had? That's why we need a full-fledged Roger flashback. That Kozuki Oden flashback was amazing, but I want a full-fledged Gol D Roger flashback. Is that so hard to ask, guys? Like, truly, I'm not gonna lie to you. Am I being greedy? Tell me in the comment section. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This is a speculation, a theory video. Why are you just hyping up Roger? Because I believe Roger needs to be hyped up. And this is the final time I'm gonna hype up Roger before I tell you what I truly think Roger's role as the final saga comes to an end. I think chapter 506, where we see Brooke talking about, I recall a rookie of the name of Gol D Roger, gives me chills because that is Roger when he first started to become a pirate. Or chapter 0, after losing to Roger, Gold Lion Shiki, of course, mentions the ancient weapon in that Ed War, but actually after losing, goes all the way to Marineford, storms all the way to Marineford, and destroys half Marineford, fighting Monkey D. Garp and legendary Sengoku with the mythical Zoan, the hero of the Marines who went up against Rocks, and of course the mythical Zoan and becomes later on Fleet Admiral. That just shows you how much hype Roger had that Shiki did this. Of course, in chapter 957, we've seen the incident at God Valley, or the island known as God Valley. And of course, Roger, Rocks, Garp, Celestial Dragons. It's just hype. And even the Marines that are listening to the story by Sengoku are just like so shocked and awe about this. And later in that chapter, we see the highest bounty ever shown in the One Piece story, Gol D Roger's bounty, an insane 5.5 billion berries, just showing you how remarkable of a man he was. And chapter 967, probably the greatest Roger moment. Of course, I can't really say, I think chapter 967 and 968 are the two greatest Roger moments. Of course, with Roger fighting Whitebeard with advanced conqueror's haki in chapter 967, the world's strongest man versus the Pirate King. Then of course in chapter 968, he laughed at the One Piece. Like, this series been following for so long. Roger went to Laugh Tale and laughed at it, and then named the island Laugh Tale because of Joy Boy's story, and wished he lived in Joy Boy's time. All I can say about that is my famous word I always say, hype, but I'm gonna add a GOAT to that because he is the GOAT for that. But I truly want to give my actual theory. I think recently we've been seeing the Seraphim, Dracula Mihawk, and the Seraphim Boa Hancock do crazy things in Amazon Lily, where Blackbeard and Rayleigh, some legendary characters, were. Of course, I have to talk about how the Seraphim Jinbei had a senior pink Delphoid ability, so Jinbei Seraphim was able to swim on land with also having Fishman Karate. That was mind-blowing for me. An insane combo for a Fishman who's amazing at swimming in general, now can swim on land. Now, we've seen in the recent One Piece chapter, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the recent chapter, but Seraphim Kuma, of course, spoiler alert if you don't want to get spoiled, with the pawpaw fruit, like, how does he have the same dough fruit as the actual Kuma? And it makes me think about Momonosuke and how Momonosuke had the same dough fruit as Kaido. Of course, the only difference was the color, and of course Vegapunk, being a perfectionist, called it a failure just because the color was pink, just showing you how amazing of a scientist he is. So I truly want to give my theory on Roger. I think there's a Roger Seraphim. Remember guys, Roger was executed in chapter 1, page 1. Where did his body go? I think his body was definitely studied by Vegapunk. There's a Roger Seraphim, which I think could even have a Delphoid copy, and that Delphoid copy could be the Delphoid that CP had, Cypher Fall, Who's Who, the one that Shanks, of course, robbed and Luffy ate by accident. Of course, the Gama Gama no Mi that later turned into the mythical Zoan known as the sun god Nika Delphoid ability, human type mythical Zoan, and that will break the fandom. If the Pirate King of the past and the Pirate King of the future have the same Delphoid, of course the Seraphim form, because Roger in his of course time never had a Delphoid ability. He has all straight haki, and Kaido was so impressed by that. But I think if they battle in the Holy Land of Merijawa and Imsama is just watching Luffy fight Roger Seraphim, to me that is amazing piece of fiction. I would love it. It kind of reminds me of the fourth Ninja War, of course, with Madara, but as a fan I would just love it, guys. So I want to hear you guys' thoughts. That's my thoughts, theory. I want to hear if you guys F with it or if you guys don't like it. But all in all, I think One Piece is going a really good direction, and I really want to put out videos like these where I'm working really hard on them. So of course it means the world, the support, just you guys watching it. But if you guys can turn on notification, that will help my channel so much, guys. And watch the entire video. If you guys watch the entire video, it helps the channel so much, guys. It's even more, watching the entire video is more important than actually liking the video. That's how crazy YouTube has gotten lately, guys. Even more important than subscribing. So watch the entire video when I drop these, guys. But like and share if you enjoy, like and share only if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more One Piece content. I'm the LegendMac, and I'm gone.